gonna do a 4-3. You're gonna be the defensive end right here, okay?
Okay.
Why you want to play defensive end so bad?
Cause like when I'm up, if I'm in a 3-point stance already, it takes me a little bit more time to get up.
No, you got it backwards. You got it backwards. You wrong. That's wrong. Let me tell you why. Look, if you in a 3-point stance, put the ball down. You in a 3-point stance as a pass rusher. You got the dominant hand that you right with down. You already got yourself angled in a way to where your first step coming from a downward stance. You got to remember, when you down in the dirt like this, you coming from a sprinter stance. When people run, the fastest people in the world run, when you see them lining up, you see them doing this, talking about a mark, set, go. They coming from the ground because, listen, when you down, you coming from a more explosive position. So that first step, it's going to be violent because you coming from a sprinter stance. You feel like you're giving yourself the advantage by standing thinking you doing something. That ain't helping you. You ain't going to be no fella because guess what? When you get to the league, guess where your hands going to be?
In the ground.
In the dirt. I want you to get accustomed to putting your hands in the dirt. Y'all getting too pretty with this stuff. Get in the dirt. Come on. We're going to do it.
Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. I'm your host, Stacy Brown.
Peace and love, everybody. I'm your host, Niele, and we have some headlines, some fun ones, some light ones, and where you can get some good grub at with class. And we're going to have a conversation about that. And of course, Stacy, I had to just add this conversation about the Lakers, Jeannie Buss, and LeBron James.
Oh, gosh, yes.
We're going to talk about that too.
Oh, that is. Oh, yeah. I want to get into that as well. That is really interesting.
What'd you take away from that video, though? What did you take away from the video?
Well, you know, that's football, right? But she's teaching life lessons too. Because especially now, you got to get down in the dirt right now. You got your hands got to get dirty. It's no time to be pretty.
Right, yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Mary has a song called Dirt, and they say we all need a little bit of it to grow.
Yeah. And listen, I thought it was what makes it even fascinating more is this was perhaps a mother and a daughter. So they were females, right? Okay. And generally the football metaphor would be men. But no, everybody, it's been time, but now more than it at any time there's been, it's time to really not be pretty, just go for it.
Right.
Get down. Listen, when they go low, you go to hell.
Okay, that's what Cardi B says, you know. And I think you know, our forever First Lady Michelle Obama, she didn't backtrack it, but she gave her thoughts at the time in context, but she basically just said, you know, now she's like, you know, that just depends on the situation. You have to know when to go high and you have to know when to do a Cardi B.
Yeah. Well, at the time though, listen, she can't be criticized for saying it when she said it, because at the time, if you recall, that was the first time that politics had gotten so the way it was. I mean, it was always a dirty business, but the way that the one side was doing, it was like, okay, we above this. Right. And thinking that, you know, most people were above it, you know, she couldn't have calculated that, you know, 70 some odd million people were going below low.
So that was her point.
To apologize about. No.
Well, she wasn't really apologizing. She said you have to put it into context. Yeah. And to what you just said, that was that time. We're in another time now. So you have to know when to go low, when to go high, or you got to know when to fold them. Didn't some country singer say that?
Know when to hold them, when to walk away.
You know,
when to
run.
But you know, I want to throw something else in there that from this conversation, beyond the fact that this was the life that she was speaking into this child, right? Mm-hmm. She said, when you get in the league, you know, so she's already spoke into existence something, you know, that she wants for his future, or that he wants rather. But you know, as a metaphor, we as Black folks have been, you know, we operating from an explosive position. You know, we don't necessarily need to take the easy route. So, you know, so one of the things that we've forgotten about is, you know, getting our hands in that dirt, right? And so it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, going to hell necessarily, but understanding that we operate from a position of power.
Yeah. Oh, so that was a mother-son, not a mother-daughter? Because I could barely see. Was that a mother-son, Greer?
It was a mother-son.
Mother-son. Okay. Forgive me for the mother-daughter reference, but it still applies.
And Patricia had to walk away too. She said, you know, she walked away with teaching lessons to her child, positive belief in yourself, and be ready so you don't have to get ready. Nancy Wall says, mama with the dress on, telling him how to do it. So yeah, so there were some good takeaways from that, and everything we needed in this time. We need some positive takeaways.
Without question. And I just wanted to, before we get into it, bring up RNG's message this morning about the people of Greenland. They're going viral, making fun of Americans doing the fentanyl fold. He said he had a flashback of the crack era when crack was considered a drug for Black folks. Many in the white community made fun of drug addicts, passed mandatory minimum sentences, and watched that drug destroy a lot of Black families and communities. Now, fentanyl is working on the male community, and the same people who laughed at crack addicts are praying for fentanyl addicts. Couldn't be truer. He says, Greenland, keep going viral so I can point out the hypocrisy in the USA. Couldn't be truer. Couldn't be truer. So immigration officers, folks, are asserting sweeping power to enter homes without a judge's warrant. The Associated Press obtained this secret memo. And we talked about this yesterday about having papers, having to show papers. Now we learned there is an actual memo that instructs ICE and federal agents to just go into people's homes without a warrant. How can anyone, Republican, Democrat, or otherwise, be okay with this?
Yeah, it's crazy. But in addition to that story, to your question, Republican or Democrat, Rep. Hakeem Jeffries has told his caucus he'll oppose the DHS funding bill over concerns about ICE. Now, during a closed-door meeting yesterday, House Democrat caucus, of course, they meet in the basement, you know, of the Capitol. And Jeffries, along with Rep. Catherine Clark, who is from Massachusetts, and the Democratic whip, announced they would vote against the DHS bill when it hits the floor today. And of course, this is setting the tone for the rest of Democrats to follow. And during this time, you know, not only should they follow, but they should be looking for the leaks, the cracks, and going after those Republicans to get them on board with that. That's how it used to work.
That's how it used to work. Yeah. And you're right. They really need, this is something, it's in their faces. And the one thing I said it at the end of last year, and it certainly applies even more now as we head toward the end of January, this is midterm season. And that's the one thing that Hakeem and his caucus should have going for them, that you still have some Republicans who are so deathly afraid of what might happen during the midterms that they may be willing, based on what they see in their own communities, they may be willing to say, hey, you know, pump the brakes. We're going to have to go along with what Hakeem and Schumer is saying here.
I mean, and if they definitely want to be proactive, to your point, Stacy, why aren't they out front now, you know, campaigning? You know, not just, you know, leaving it up to the individual candidates to do these campaigns, but maybe the DNC and the Democratic Party and, you know, the DCCC, they need to be delivering blanket ads about why this midterm is important and why flipping seats across this country could turn the trajectory of this country, right? I mean, a blanket statement. And then, you know, telling people you don't have to live in Texas to support a Jasmine Crockett. You can donate. You don't have to live in South Carolina or Tennessee if you don't want to make the change. You can robocall. So there are blanket statements because you know that repetition and frequency penetrates the voter. They need to be on it right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned Texas and Jasmine, and it's what's interesting is that we see in all this in Minnesota now. There's a sighting in Maine of all places of a caravan of ICE vehicles being transported there. But
that caravan, they got the caravan. A caravan.
It's not a caravan of love, though.
No, it's a caravan of ice.
It's caravan of ice. But the thing about it is that I'm going to say about Texas and Jasmine. Texas, that's a state because it's Governor Hot Wheels is the guy there. He's a Trump guy, but there's no state has more immigrants than Texas.
Right. And Florida, think about Florida too, but so it's like the picking and choosing, that number one, that's wrong. And then their behavior is just racist.
Just racist. Austin is chiming in this morning. Congressional Democrats are all jammed in a dark closet looking for the light switch, is what he said.
Well, you know what? They better come outside. They can't wait till, you have primaries coming up this first quarter. You got primaries in the summertime, and then you got the big game in November. They should be wasting no time as a party because the candidates are going to have enough fight of their own. So as a party, they need to be laying out a blanketed campaign as to why these midterms matter. And, to Austin's point, it's not the congressional Dems, it's the DNC. They hiding in the closet. What's going on over there?
They looking for the light switch. Representative Crockett introduces the what? What was that? The Track ICE Act. Okay.
Right.
Jasmine is unapologetically not scared.
Right. I mean, Rep. Ayanna Pressley last week or a week before last introduced a bill to abolish ICE. So there you see, Black women, we not in the closet. The lights are on, and we can see very clearly as to what's happening.
Yeah.
And let's not forget LaMonica McIver in New Jersey. She's facing 19 years for standing up for the people of New Jersey.
Yeah. Patricia Jackson says Dixiecrats are exposed. Godly. And also this morning, the Supreme Court appears unlikely to allow Trump to immediately fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, with the justices from across the ideological spectrum signaling that, quote, for cause protections must mean something and allow judicial review. Several justices warned that permitting an unreviewable firing would weaken the Federal Reserve's independence and risk market instability. I mean, that's the fact that they're leaning toward Lisa Cook here and not Donald Trump is one thing. It's a great thing, but the reasoning behind it, that these conservative justices, they're more concerned with the independence, and they should be concerned with the independence of the Federal Reserve, but it's talking about market instability. No, you got to do what's right, and what's right is Lisa Cook has done nothing wrong. Even Trump's own investigators can't find anything she did wrong. They tried to prosecute her on nothing, and grand juries and prosecutors have said, you got nothing. She did nothing wrong. That's what you should hold your hat on. And the fact is, yes, he is trying to dip into the Federal Reserve and trying to, it's all about money. It's all about money and corruption.
Yeah, it's not just her, it's the chair. He's already interviewing people to take his spot. He has the Department the Department of Justice investigating the Fed chair. Then we see what's happening with Lisa Cook. He has no morals and no scruples whatsoever. And what he's doing to, leadership appointees, those two right there. You can think of Letitia James. And since we're on the subject, let's talk about it. Another person he's attacking, Governor Gavin Newsom. Did you see what happened to him yesterday?
Yes.
He was in Switzerland and was denied entry into the U.S. House of Switzerland, where he was invited to speak during the World Economic Forum. So on a world stage, Donald Trump is embarrassing us, okay, with our United States leadership. Now, according to Newsom's press office, they tweeted and put out on social media, under pressure from the White House and State Department, USA House, a church acting as the official U.S. pavilion is now denying entry to Governor Newsom to speak with the media after Fortune, the official media partner of this world conference, invited him to speak. So he was invited to speak. And Donald Trump, in front of world leaders, world economists, we're talking about the Fed. Think about, we're talking about Lisa Cook, the chair of the Fed, in front of an economic world stage, is denying an elected official that runs one of the top states for imports, for exports, for economics in the world, representing the United States. And he was denied.
Wow. Well, that is just incredible. And Patricia Jackson, going back to Lisa Cook, saying they're not protecting her. The Supreme Court is not protecting her. They're just following the law for now. That's spot on. They're not protecting her, and they are following the law for now. At this moment,
nobody is protected. Nobody is protected. Nobody is safe. Look at yesterday, subpoena served to all of the leadership in Minnesota, the governor, the attorney general, 2 mayors from Minneapolis and Minnesota, 2 district attorneys, city attorneys, are being investigated for obstruction.
And listen, and not to mention, Bill and Hillary Clinton have been called in for contempt of Congress, and Keith Olbermann is reporting that they're actually going to have a trial, that he has heard from impeccable sources that Trump wants a public trial for the Clintons, and what he's seeking, what Trump is seeking, and this is so ridiculous if true, what he is seeking is that there be some acknowledgement from a Clinton or someone high up in the Democratic Party that indeed the 2020 election was stolen from him, and then he will back off.
You know what I mean? And then, okay, so you just did that one. Look at what he's doing to journalists. All across the board, anybody that resists or opposes injustice is being attacked. It's not even like right or wrong. What they're doing is injustice. And we're fighting for justice. And I can say this is where, Black Press comes in, because it's not just news, it's activism as well. And so sometimes you do have to take a side for justice, not for Republican, not for Democrat, but for what is right. And so going back to our first story, hopefully, since Democratic leadership in the House of Representatives are pushing to oppose this bill, then that means that Democrats should fall in line, which some of them they're already saying are not, but then they should be working across the aisle to get justice, because what they're doing is unjust. Don Lemon is still on the block, right? And what does that send a signal to, Stacy, to journalists? Y'all better back up and watch what you say. What is happening with Gavin Newsom, a world leader, a governor for the United States? What does that send to other governors? You go out of town talking crap about Trump, you might not be allowed back into the United States. This is what terrorism is. It's terrorism.
I'll tell you what else is terrorism. Austin is saying hi to Aunt Pam. That's terrorism.
Yeah, listen, something we didn't talk about the other day, since we're talking around this, I just want to throw this in there.
Yes.
I heard the tea about Michael Cohen getting back in the roost, trying to get back in the roost. Him saying that, Tish James coerced him to basically,
Yeah, go against Trump.
right. And so Midas Touch, apparently he's all up and through the Epstein files. Midas Touch has fired him. Did y'all hear
Very
about
nice. I saw something about it. I didn't go into it. I didn't really dig into it, but yeah, I know a little bit about that, Greer, and it's a shame. It's a crying shame. Be a man, Michael Cohen.
Or you don't know if I'm not saying, but Trump could be threatening him to be like, I can make the jail happen this time. You know that.
Can he go to jail?
I said I can make you go to jail this time.
No, I'm just saying, didn't he already go to jail? Yeah, I think Michael Cohen did.
He went to jail and then he got out.
Yeah, he wasn't sentenced though. I don't think
he was sentenced.
Yeah, he was.
How you go to jail?
Oh, he was. Okay, he went to prison. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I could put you back in jail. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. It's interesting. I saw this. Michael Harriot wrote for the Contraband Camp's Black check scale when speaking of Trump, made the civil rights comments that white folks were taken advantage of or whatever. You folks, do yourself a favor and go to the contrabandcamp.com and read Michael Harriot's take on.
Now, who is Michael Harriot?
Michael Harriot is a very accomplished journalist. He used to write for the Griot, but he says, did the Civil Rights Act oppress the people who are overrepresented in home ownership? Did it oppress legislatures? Did it oppress the judicial branch, wealth, income, school funding, college admission? He breaks it all down in a way that only few people, and Michael Harriot is obviously one, only few can. And he talks about the white tears, when folks are accustomed to privilege, how equality feels like oppression. And that is really the bottom line. You are accustomed to all this privilege. And when somebody talks about we need to have an equal or a level playing field, they feel oppressed. Right. It's a lot deeper than that. I mean, he talks about the 57% of the U.S. population being white, but they make up 74% of the federal judiciary. 70% of state legislators, 80% of the K-12 teachers are white. 72% of college faculty is white. 90% of Fortune 500 CEOs and 99% of the people who think white men are being discriminated against. And so you got to read it, folks. Got to read it.
Right.
He really goes in and breaks it down. For those who want to come at you with, Trump has a point. He has no point. Or again, just reading that column, he doesn't mention reparations, but that column screams why we should be talking about reparations.
Right.
But doing more than talking about it.
Right. Well, I'm glad that I'm glad though that there are Black scholars and Black individuals still pushing that conversation, because we see that it continues to pop up. And so, we'll see what happens. I know Orange G said Michael Cohen is the typical white boy they found under pressure. He is never to be trusted. And I did find he pled guilty to various federal crimes, tax evasion, campaign finances, and violations. In 2019, he began serving a 3-year prison sentence, but he was released in May of 2020, released to home confinement due to COVID-19 and the pandemic. And then July 2020, sent back to prison briefly after refusing to sign papers preventing him from publishing a book. But a judge ordered his release again. And so, Donald Trump could be messing with him. Either way, this whole Trump clan, this white terrorist and white supremacist organization that has hijacked our country, is not just attacking the people, but he's attacking our elected, which goes back to, where are the Democrats in the messaging? Why aren't we seeing commercials? Why aren't we getting, I don't want them to bombard our phones. I think they bombard our phones way too much, the text messages. But let's get this party started, y'all. Don't wait till June or November to do a national campaign. It's almost political suicide, I think.
Well, again, and like I said earlier, the midterm, we're in midterm season now. It's as simple as that. It is midterm season. So, hey, folks, do what you got to do. Or do what you do. All right. So, folks, are you hungry? Because if you're not hungry, you're going to be hungry with our next guest. Joining us this morning is Kevin Kelly, founder and owner of Kitchen and Cocktails by Kevin Kelly, and one of the few Black-owned restaurants operating in downtown Chicago. And after overwhelming support, Kevin, the restaurant has expanded into a larger space in the heart of the city while continuing to grow a national presence with locations, of course, where we always go in Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Dallas, Charlotte, and Atlanta. Welcome to Let It Be Known, Kevin.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, good morning. Happy to have you here.
Miss Anderson, I'm excited to be on myself.
I got questions. Stacy, let's go.
Well, let's go. Well, Kitchen and Cocktails, Kevin, now operates in several major cities, but Black-owned restaurants are still scarce in downtown business districts. So what challenges did you face expanding into spaces like downtown Chicago and even in DC, and what did it take to break through?
In Chicago, the challenge is getting people to believe in us as a business sometimes. When you're a Black-owned business, sometimes you get more of a difficult time than a white-owned business. Oftentimes we give grace to other businesses that we don't give to our own people, but it comes with it. I think one of the bigger challenges that we've had in Chicago, and let me back it up a bit, and let me share, Chicago's been fantastic. We opened in 2021. This is my second location. Now I've got 9 hospitality concepts. But Chicago was number 2. So without the success of Chicago, we don't get a chance to be in these other markets. And so if you ask me which city I'm very, very thankful for beyond Dallas, it's Chicago, because Chicago showed that we can take our concept across the country. And so now we are in Dallas, Chicago, DC, Charlotte, Atlanta, Philadelphia. And now I'm in Miami at an Airbnb I have because we've got a Miami location that opened up. But without Chicago, none of that is possible. But back to your question, when you speak of the challenges, probably the biggest challenge that we've had in Chicago has been the governmental challenges. We've got an alderman that is in that area that will not allow DJs in our restaurant. They won't allow live music in our restaurant because we're in River North. And I think that's a big problem because our people want live music. Our people want DJs. With us being a Black business, it doesn't mean that we're a club. It doesn't mean that we're ratchet. It doesn't mean we're ghetto. I'm a restaurant. We serve chicken, waffles. You can come with your girlfriend, your children. You can come with your grandparents too. But I think that because we are a Black-owned business, we've been targeted and we've not been allowed to have a DJ in the restaurant. We're not allowed to have live music. And that has an effect on revenue. If people knew throughout the Chicago area that we go to Kitchen and Cocktails every Thursday and we can listen to a band and we can listen to live music, I think it would be good for business. I mean, again, you're talking Dallas, DC, Charlotte, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Miami. Every location I have has live music except for Chicago. But the business that was there before me, Katana, they were allowed to have live music. They were allowed to have a DJ, but we're told that we can't. And, we've reached out to Alderman Riley's office a number of times, tried to build good rapport with him. We've been no issue since we've been in Chicago for the 4 years that we've been there. We've got a clean record, but we're not allowed to have it. And I think that that's definitely race related.
Have you reached out to the mayor's office, or can the mayor's office help?
I think it's kind of a separate area. I think the way the governmental entities are set up within Chicago, I think the mayor does what he does, and I think the aldermen do what they do. And this happens to be Alderman Riley's area.
Okay, got
it.
And
I've never spoken about that. I've never spoken about that on a podcast too before, or even publicly, because my lawyers are usually like, hey, we'll deal with the city. Let us do this. Let us do that. But nah, I got restaurants across the country. What they gonna do to me? The reality of it is we get treated. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you, aren't you an attorney?
I am.
So do you put on your legal hat in this situation and advise your attorneys of what you're thinking about?
I advise my attorneys, but I'm also mindful too that they say the lawyer who represents himself has a fool as a client, right? And I've been called a fool once or twice before, but I don't want to be called in this restaurant world.
That's right. Okay, that was just a pivot to what you were talking about, but we do want to say congratulations. You just this month opened up the location in Miami. What was that like? And what's the vibe does your restaurant maintain the vibe in all cities, or do you try to curate something unique to the location?
You know, we try to maintain the vibe in all cities. Now, Miami, each building will usually decide what the vibe is. In Miami, we have like 5 garage doors that are on the outside of the building that have graffiti art on the outside with the logo. But during the
Mm-hmm.
daytime, we open those up. So it's kind of like we have a sunroof restaurant there, right? But that's the Miami
Mm-hmm.
vibe. But in terms of the food is always the same. The drinks are always the same. And, you know, people have asked me that before too. They said, well, do you have something specific for Miami? And I said, I don't. I said, they asked me that in Philadelphia too. But what do I look like coming to Philadelphia and creating my own cheesesteak? They're going to kill me, right? But Miami, I'm not going to have Latin dishes. I'm not going to go beyond the jerk chicken that we have across the country. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Chicago taught me that lesson too. When, you know, before we came to Chicago, they said, you got to have a steak on the menu. People in Chicago are steak people. So we went to work on these steaks, Miss Anderson. I created a traditional tomahawk. We had a jerk tomahawk, and that jerk one was special because it was a steak, but it was an extra seasoned steak, and it didn't taste like jerk chicken. It was just a fantastic tomahawk. And then we had an Asian cognac one where it had like a sweet chili type sauce on it as well. Those were the best steaks to this day I've ever had, and nobody bought them. It taught me the lesson that, and it wasn't the customer's fault. When people come to us, they come to us for Southern food, so we have to be who we are. That's like me going to McDonald's and I have a craving for a cheesesteak, but I pull up to McDonald's. Well, that's not what McDonald's does. So I've got to get my Big Mac, my fries, or something else, and I've got to go for what that concept has.
Well, let me tell you, we have frequented the DC location. In fact, we had Black Press Week event there last year. Hope to have it again this year. Guess we could talk to you more about that later. But the food, folks, the food is incredible. Not only is food, you mentioned the music. The music is incredible. But more importantly, Kevin, the people who work at your location, it's you feel like you are walking into your own home, your own kitchen. They treat you not as customers, not as just people we don't know coming off the street. They really treat you extremely warm. How important is it for your brand to have a presence in cities that shape culture, policy, and national conversation?
You know, it's extremely important for us to have brands in cities that shape culture and policy and so on and so forth. You know, I'm unapologetically Black. I own 100% of my businesses, which are rare for Black businesses that do the volume that we do. My customers look like me for the most part, even though we welcome everybody and we want everybody, and my staff looks like me. And so I have to be mindful of that at all times. I have to make sure that we're working hard to give our staff opportunities that other restaurants do not. When you look at my restaurants across the country and you see management, our management team is diverse. I've got white GMs, but I've got a lot of Black GMs too. You know, I've got Black chefs, but I got white chefs too. There's balance with what we have. Whereas if you go to other restaurants that do the numbers that we do and go to any of them across Chicago and you say, who are the managers here? And you look and see, they don't ever look like us. And so when you talk about shaping culture, for me, it's very important to be that restaurant owner that is doing volume to say, I'm going to give our people a chance. And it doesn't mean that it comes without ups and downs. It definitely does, because when you go to, let's say, Maple and Ash, you may see 1-2 Black persons on the staff that are period, right? Our people don't get opportunities. And so when I get people that work for me as servers, bartenders, they haven't had a chance to do volume before because the Gibsons don't often give us a chance. You know, the Alinea groups don't hire our people necessarily. And so I'm the one who's made a decision that I will give our people the opportunity. And it means more training. And it also means sometimes our people make mistakes too. But if I don't give chance to our people and if I don't believe in our people, then why would anybody else? And, you know, that's a position that I don't mind being in. Responsibility I don't mind having, because our people are fantastic. And when I say our people with the restaurant, you know, I've got white people that work in the restaurant, and it makes me so happy to see them perform because they believe in the restaurant, but they also believe in our culture and our people. Because if you're white and you're walking into a restaurant that's 70% Black, it's easy to say, I don't have to be the minority in this world because I'm not a minority anywhere else. So this doesn't work for me. But the white people who work for us, they're just good people and they work and do a good job. But just like our Black people are good people and do a good job too. And they deserve the opportunity too to be treated the same way that I treat whites within my restaurant and the same way that I treat Latinos within our restaurant. And this is one of the situations that happen in society that people often don't pay attention to, but labor matters. And again, I'm going to reverse it back and tell you that, you know, I've got 125 people or so that work for me in Chicago. About 95% of them are black and brown. No restaurants in Chicago with 125 people have 95% people that are black and brown. But why not have 25%? Why not have 30%? Don't just hire us in the kitchen so we can season your food a little extra, right? Put them in the front of the restaurant. Let them put on the nice suits. Let them talk to your staff. Give them the opportunity to be operators at a higher level. So now they have to sit in meetings and they have to understand labor, food costs. They have to understand how to truly operate a business. Their mind develops, they evolve, and they become better professionals. So not only can they win in the short term, but they can have a better life in hospitality for the next 20, 30 years. We're still not giving that opportunity in other restaurants. And so I'm proud to carry the flag of saying this is what we do, not only for our people, but for everyone who's qualified.
Yeah, the DC, when I'm in DC, I visited. I love the char grilled oysters, delicious. I love that Sir Davis cocktail. It's made like a Hennessy sidecar, delicious. I mean, I'm a fan, and even like the curation. And I want to talk to you about that. And to the point of from the front of the house to the back of the house. And being from LA, I'm in LA. Being in LA, you do not see that. Not from the front of the house to the back of the house. It is a pleasure to see that much blackness and culture. But I want to talk about the curation of the restaurant. One of the signature things that you have is that rose wall, which is famous. Every time everybody's in there, they're taking pictures and things like that. How important are just little unique tidbits like that to, you know, cocktails and kitchen and, you know, that signature brand that you're creating?
You know what? I'm mindful of who my customers are. My customers are 70% female. And so the other 30% are male. And you know, Stacy, that other 30%, half of them probably just coming because of a female, right? So my focus is ladies in the design of the restaurant. And beyond just the design of the restaurant too, I want you, Miss Anderson, and every other female to feel like the restaurant is theirs. You know, it may be my restaurant, but I'll tell you what, they better have that honeybee cocktail, because if they don't have it, my wife might leave the restaurant, right? She's a huge Beyonce fan. She loves the spirit. She loves the cocktail. She loves seeing the bee, the honey on the drink. I mean, it's fantastic. And when she comes with her friends, my staff knows to batch enough of it, because if it's 10 women, all 10 of them are going to have 3 honeybees. So make sure you've got it ready and you got it coming fast. It's important. And I just like she feels that way, I want you to feel that way when you walk in the restaurant. I want you to say what's important to you. And you mentioned the rose wall. I want you to gather your girlfriends and say, we're about to come to the restaurant. We're going to order our food. But after we order, we're going to get up and we're going to take our photograph, because we want to be by that wall and make our memories too. And so I'm mindful when you talk curation to not just sell food. I want to deliver experiences to people too, because at base level, I understand that when you choose my restaurants, you can choose any restaurant. And when you choose my restaurant, you've had a day before that. You've had a life before walking in. But what does your day look like? Have you been celebrating a birthday, anniversary, something special? Or are you walking in and you have money problems, but you can afford a meal and you're coming in to eat kitchen and cocktails? And so that 30 minutes to 3 hours, however long you're there, that's my opportunity to curate an experience and to ensure that we can make a positive effect on your life. And so from the moment you walk in and you're told, welcome home, you're ours. We got to take care of you. And beyond from the moment when we say, welcome home, to when you sit down and you get a chance to look at that menu and you see things that are from the South, things that make you comfortable, because it's called comfort food for a reason. You know, this food was made when I was a baby, when I was a boy, and I was loved while I was fed it. I was with my grandmother when she was making it. And, you know, that's why this food is so near and dear to me. And so I want to make other people feel the way that I feel when I'm in a restaurant. I got so much to say today. I'm going to be fast with it, but with curating the experience, I don't want it to just be the food. You see, if you give me the worst looking shack in Chicago and LA and Dallas, and I'm selling fried chicken out of there, I'm gonna kick ass with my fried chicken. But I don't want to take the customer for granted. It's really important that they can have a cocktail that's good. And so I personally spent months tasting cocktails to ensure that we could deliver well there. Not just what I want, but what I think our customer may want. That's beautiful, that tastes good. It's going to be a little bit on the sweeter profile, because my customers aren't men for the most part, and I want the women to have beautiful drinks to choose from. But I also know that men may want to drink too. So we have our old fashions, we have our high-end spirits that can be drank neat, like I prefer my tequila drink neat, right? But beyond food, drink, you know, how you feel is important too. When you walk in, you may want to hear Tony. You may want to hear Miguel. You may want to hear Marvin Gaye. I just want people to feel good in the restaurant. You know, when you think of how many meals you eat out, I eat 365 days a week. I DoorDash probably 300 days a week. I eat out, 300 days a month. I'm sorry. Like, this boy is real skinny to be eating 300 days a week, right? But anyway, 300 days a year I eat out. And then I DoorDash about 300 days too. And I don't get made to feel special in a restaurant. I don't have owners that ever come to my table and say, hi, I'm the owner of the restaurant. And so any chance I get to do that, I do that. But also make sure my staff understands that we got a chance to make customers feel good, and we can't take it for granted. We cannot take it for granted. So that's where the curation comes in, and it's really me wanting to give people what I would want for myself or for my own family.
Yeah, it's like those pictures. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, since we're talking about the curation, it's the pictures, you know, like, so when we're in DC, we want to take that picture with Beyonce and Jay-Z from the inauguration, or when you go downstairs and you walk that red rose wall. I mean, it's such a vibe, and it's such intentional what you're doing there. And so when we had our event last year there, I mean, the people who hadn't been there, they were wild. Like, oh my gosh, like the different publishers from across the country that came. It was an experience for them, not just a dinner. See, look, oh, that's me.
Yeah, that's
you. But yeah, see the magazine covers. Look at that. It was such a vibe.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kevin, about all
wait,
of the
Kelly, I gotta put you on the spot since they teed it up. Okay, I gotta put you on the spot. We're trying to come back for our celebration this year, so at the DC location, because it's our favorite spot. So I'm gonna put you on the spot now, so I have it on record when I reach out to your publisher. Okay.
Well, hold on. Before if you're gonna say you're gonna put me on the spot, you need to really put me on the spot. So
okay, yeah. So listen. Okay, all right. You want me? I want to put you. You know, we need to have your space this year. We want you to be our event sponsors. Yeah, there you go. I put you on the spot for March. So I'm putting it out there.
I didn't hear that. I'm in
you didn't hear me?
Airbnb now. My Wi-Fi is bad. I didn't hear you, but I don't know if you heard me first. I said, if you're gonna put me on the spot, you really need to put me on the spot. So I'm ready to hear what you got to say. Let's go.
I said, listen, we want to come back to the DC location. You see my girl walking down these steps. We had a wonderful time, and we love Kitchen and Cocktails. We want you all to be our venue sponsor this year for our Black Press event. That's there you go.
Okay, you put me on the spot. What's that look like? We can hammer a deal out fast.
Oh, I love this. I love it.
Now let me tell you something, Kevin. Before if you guys have this conversation, the last person that I recall being on this show and saying, let's make a deal was Mark Cuban. Cost him $500,000.
So, search Davis. There it is.
Did I mention my Wi-Fi is bad? I got to get off this call now.
No, it's nothing like that. So, Greer, we have a date. We do have a date in March. What's the date, Greer? Greer, what's the date?
Yeah, it's March the 16th.
And we want the downstairs area.
Like we had last time.
You will be our partner, you know, which will do a lot of cool things to uplift all the locations. And you know, we have Black-owned newspapers in every city that you have a restaurant. So we want to just do some trade and so maybe sponsor our cocktail and
how many will you have down? How many people will you have down there?
Listen, whatever the space allows, we want to, you know, listen, we're counting down to 200 years of the Black Press of America. This is a monumental event. And, you know, and our event is going to be the flyest event anyway. So I'm just, you know, it's time to get in, you know, on the ground. And listen, you started this last year was the first time that we, let it be known, had our event. We had a couple of newspaper people there, you know, we're going to have lawmakers there and all that. You got to get in. We want you in on the ground level.
And we want you there. Okay. We want you there too.
Yes.
Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna have 100 people there. I'm gonna give you guys. I hope nobody else watches this interview. I'm gonna give you guys a $10,000 food and drink credit. That should pretty much cover the people that you have there. 10,000 food and drink credit. The drinks will flow, and the food, and that we'll do pass tray food to make sure everything is good. So I'm throwing y'all a party down there. How's that?
That's what
Praise
I'm
the
talking about.
Lord,
Now look,
everybody.
you got to send me an email after this so I can make sure I send it to my team fast, because you know how black people is. Don't hit me on March 1st. I'm gonna be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
She pressing send right after the show.
Kevin, put your email in the private chat there with Greer. But I got to mention this to you, that a couple of our viewers, Danielle Pierre, for instance, is asking where exactly in Miami is your location, and Patricia Jackson is saying, please come to Ohio.
All right, so in Miami, we are in Wynwood, 2823 Northwest 2nd Avenue. We opened there last Friday with a large party, and then Saturday, Sunday, we were packed. The week's been great too. Next Saturday, Sunday, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be good. So 2823 Northwest 2nd Avenue in Miami. As far as Ohio, I have been traveling to Ohio. I've spent quite a bit of time in Columbus, Ohio. I've had some negotiations on spaces in Columbus, Ohio as well.
Wow.
And so I would expect that we'll get to Ohio. My calendar is filled up for this year, but I would think 2027 will be in Columbus, Ohio with the restaurant location.
What about LA? What about LA? LA?
2028. When I do LA.
Breaking stuff here from Kevin.
And the Olympics are in 2028 too, huh?
Right.
Yep.
There. And I have a plug. I have a plug in Inglewood. I used to run the mayor's campaign. So I'm just saying they're trying to do a lot. They have a lot of real estate in Inglewood that have like disclosed buildings. Inglewood might be a spot for you. And it's the mayor is Black, Mayor JT Butts. And it's a lot of Black thriving businesses. You would fit in perfect in Inglewood. Plus, it's the World Cup too. Remember, the World Cup is there. You have the Lakers. No, not the Lakers. The Clippers. You have the Rams. You have the Chargers. And to the YouTube Theater and the Forum. It's a great spot. It's a great city.
Kevin, it's a lot.
Yeah, when I do LA, it's a little.
Yeah. Okay, so let's play some fun. Let's have some fun.
Wait, before you get to that, I got to mention this to Kevin, because he mentioned all of the tasting he has to do, the alcohol tasting. And if you ever get tired of that, you can call me up. I can do that. I'm just letting you know.
I appreciate that. Good looking out.
But we want to do, before we let you go, we want to do a round of rapid fire, some fun. So the first one is the brunch battle. Now you can only have one for whatever reason for brunch at your restaurant. Are you picking chicken and waffles or shrimp and grits?
Black and shrimp and grits with a fried lobster tail on the side.
Okay.
Ooh.
So, cocktails, kitchen and cocktails, y'all, kitchen and cocktails. Okay, so dress code. It's 2026. Is it a crisp white t-shirt, business casual, or a violation in your establishment?
We prefer business casual. And I tell people, don't dress for me, for the restaurant, dress for that person that you're dining with. Be mindful of the table that's next to you as well. We're, so fantastic. Our customers, with some of the outfits they have, they're great. And just bring your best, because you're out to eat with people, and sometimes we do have to have conversations with people because clothes are too short or too revealing. And, I don't blame ourselves. I blame the family and friends, the people that let them leave the house that way. I think it's okay to sit down and dine at a restaurant and feel good. And I'm a t-shirt guy. I wear t-shirts a lot, but if I wear a t-shirt, it's going to be crisp. I'm going to have on decent pants, decent shoes, and that's it. You don't have to wear a tuxedo or wear a suit to come to the restaurant, because we're a family restaurant. We want to be your everyday restaurant. We're not fine dining. We're not a drive-through either. So just do your best. And with that question, we're often asked too, well, what about kids? Well, I got 2 kids. Bring your kids too. I don't understand why people don't want kids in restaurants or don't allow them. Everybody who says kids can't come, they forget they were a kid once upon a time too. And so again, we want the whole country to eat in our restaurants.
Okay, so we're going to leave kitchens and cocktails, and we're going to have you put on your legal hat. So this is the soundtrack. If you're winning a case, what's playing in the headphones? Is it Jay-Z, Rick Ross, or Nas?
Jay-Z, you don't know.
There you have it.
That was easy.
Yeah,
then you have to think twice.
Well, listen, we definitely appreciate you and appreciate Kitchen and Cocktails. Like we said, even before this, we've been patronizing. We've been patrons of Kitchen and Cocktails because of the experience. The experience is great. The food is great. The music. I hope that you get that music situation straightened out in Chicago,
Yes, for sure.
and wherever you go, because it's all a part of that unique atmosphere that you presented.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's a part of the culture, and even in Chicago, just to circle back and to address that set of circumstances. You know, when I do interviews, I try to be very, very positive, and I don't really speak much on negativity because why? There's so many wins to be had. But I do think that with the position that the alderman's office is taking in Chicago, with not allowing us to have a DJ or to have live music, I think it's an attack on our culture. You know, we do deserve the chance to sit down and hear music when we go to our restaurants, just like the white restaurants in River North. They can have live music and they can have a DJ. We know how to control ourselves. It doesn't mean it's going to be violence. We're a restaurant. And so we'd encourage the alderman and his staff to come to the restaurant, sit down and have a meal before you keep pushing back and saying that we can't have a PPA, which is a license to have live music and a license to have a DJ. And if you represent River North, or if you're anywhere in Chicago, such a black city, there's no way you should be anti-black and anti things that are of our culture. So give us our DJ, give us our music. Who knows? Maybe I do need to put my legal hat on, huh?
Yeah. Or, you know, but one thing that the Black press is known is for amplifying stories like this, news, views, and
Right.
advocacy. And so one of our papers there is the Chicago Defender. So I'm sure Stacy is thinking of a story right now
Right
to
now.
help elevate this. I know it's coming. I know it's coming.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you all
Thanks.
for your time. I appreciate the presence. Look, I put it in the chat. You're going to send me an email. We're going to get it working so we can sponsor the event on March the 16th when you all are in DC. I'll do everything I can to try to be in town so I can personally say thank you to you and everyone else who's participated and who's shown us some media support. And I just want to, before I get off, I want to commend you on your hard work and on your platform. I don't take for granted any chance I get to speak with someone that's in media, because you can speak to anybody. So allowing me to tell my story and to even share things that I've never shared before publicly, like the alderman situation in Chicago, it's a blessing, and it makes you all superheroes for allowing us to put out things that are really important. So thank you both very much.
All right,
Thank
peace
you,
and
Kevin. We
love.
appreciate you.
Kitchen
come
and
back.
cocktails. Yeah, kitchen and cocktails, y'all. It's in the
Book
city
your reservation
near
now.
you.
Go to Open Table. Go to Open Table if you're watching
you
or if
go.
you're listening to this. Go to Open Table right now, whatever city you're in. Link in Kitchen Cocktails by Kevin Kelly and book that reservation. We're waiting to welcome you home. Thank
All
you.
right,
There
peace
you
and
go.
love. Thank you.
And they
All
do
right,
just
that was
that too.
so cool. And that
Yeah.
you know, that's what we do. We recycle Black dollars, you know what I'm saying? And that's building the Black economic system. So not only, you know, we're amplifying his stories here, supporting the work that we're doing, and we're letting our Let It Be Known family know that there's one in a city near you or coming to a city near you. So that's,
Yeah.
that is so dope. So dope.
Well, from that, I think we should just go to Black Facts.
Let's do it.
All right. On this date in 1949, folks, James Robert Gladden became the first African American certified in orthopedic surgery.
Yes, but before we go to Black Facts, I did put
You
out
just
a
did.
Yes, I know, but well, I have one too, so we're not
Yes.
done. But before we do that, I need to talk about a story that I talked about on social media yesterday that I said I
Okay.
was going to talk about on the show today.
Okay.
And that is Nene Leakes and Lunel. So
Good
just
job.
quick entertainment cap. Not cap, because cap means it's not real, you know. But Nene Leakes, for all my Real Housewives fans in the chat, you know, we've been missing her, but Nene Leakes has made up with Bravo, y'all, and she's returning. Okay. So
All right.
she shared the news directly with her fans on Instagram and said, I am happy and overjoyed that I will be returning to Bravo. So it's unclear of when she's coming back, or how she's coming back. Is it a show of her own? Is she going back to the Housewives? Is she going to the Ultimate Girls Trip? But nevertheless, Nene Leakes will be back, and I'm thinking, Stacy, we will see her on the Atlanta Housewives. Maybe not this upcoming season, but the following season. I'm pretty sure she'll be back.
Okay. There you
And
have
last but not least, romance rumors. This is one that y'all might not have seen coming. So social media is trying to figure it out because there have been videos floating with Al B. Shore and comedian Lunel kissing, and look at that lovey-dovey. And so they're not denying it, but they're not saying it's real. They're just letting people think about it. But what do you think about this couple, Al B. Shore and Lunel? I mean, what do you think, Stacy? I love it.
Hey, I mean, look, as they say, if they're happy, I'm happy.
Well, look, like the old folks say, whatever floats your boat, huh?
Right. Whatever floats your
Yeah.
boat.
And if you want to hear the story about what Nene Leakes and Lunel have in common with comedy, you can go over to my page on Niele LA, and I tell the story about how J. Anthony Brown and myself got cussed out by Lunel because of Nene Leakes. But you got to go to my page. You got to go to my page or Black Press USA to find out why. Now I'm ready for my Black fact. So back to politics on January 22nd, 2009. It's also my mom's birthday too. I need to call her. Susan Elizabeth Rice was confirmed by the United States Senate as the first African-American woman to serve in the capacity of U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in the, of course, President Barack Obama administration. Of course, she will later become selected as the United States National Security Advisor for President Obama. So that's your Black history fact. Black women.
Very nice. Real quick, Nancy Wall says, I saw that with Lunel. OMG. If they like it, I love it. And
Me too. And Patricia said she was a good friend first. Go for it.
Go for it. All right.
Go for it. I love it. And we want you to go to BlackPressUSA.com for the latest in news, views, and of course, opinions.
We'll see you tomorrow.